Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Order YouTube channel. This is a new initiative by New Order Venture DAO. We are a DeFi first venture platform. I'm Amber. I'm a venture manager at New Order. A little bit about myself. I came from a traditional finance background, did a few years of banking before moving on to venture management and in startup incubation. So for the past, I think, 3-4 years, I've been working with a lot of Web3 blockchain-based startups. It's really amazing, to see how fast they can grow in less than 2-3 years. They reached beyond Series A. You might heard of some of the names like Maple Finance, Bioeconomy, Merkle Science, Kurtosis, so on and so forth. I really like DeFi. I love the mission of New Order is to, propel the innovation of DeFi forward, nurture the next generation of founders. So enough about me. So I'm here with Abdallah today, who is program manager from Outlier Ventures. I've been working with him for the last 8 months, and he played a pivotal role in launching our first DeFi Base Camp. And he worked very closely with 6 companies in the first cohort. So welcome, Abdallah. I'll let him introduce himself.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Amber, and thanks for having me on. So on my end, I'm the program manager of Outlier Ventures DeFi Base Camp accelerator program that we're, of course, running jointly with the great team at New Order. A bit about me. So I'm an engineer by education, but in terms of work experience, I come from a management consulting background. I did that for 6 years. Started looking into crypto and investing in 2017. Invested in Bitcoin, ETH. A friend of mine was also doing pre-ICO allocations into projects. So I tried a few of those. Some of them worked really well, and then everything crashed to zero. So that's when I really started looking into the space, educating myself about it, reading more about Ethereum, what's being built on it, DeFi, and so on. And last year I decided to make the move full-time to Web3. So I left my old job, moved to Outlier Ventures, started as an associate on the Polkadot program, but I knew I wanted to do a bit more DeFi. So in December of last year, I moved into the DeFi program. And I've been working with Amber and the New Order DAO team ever since to basically jointly run DeFi Base Camp.
That's great. Thank you, Abdallah. So for this interview, we're going to talk about early stage startups and Outlier Ventures and DeFi Base Camp, our accelerator program. So for those who are not familiar with OV, can you tell us a bit more about how OV works and what's its track record in terms of accelerating Web3?
Yeah, of course. So a bit about OV. OV was founded in 2014, and it started out life as a traditional blockchain-focused VC firm. It was never a fund, so it was always internal capital being invested. And OV experimented with a number of different models. We did a bit of venture building for a while as well, a bit of incubation. But in the crypto winter of 2018, what our partners noticed was that funding for early stage projects completely dried up. And that's why, to us at OV, that was a real crypto winter, and it's a bit different from what we're going through now, which is, in our view, a crypto bear market rather than winter. But that's when OV decided to fill that segment in the market, and we launched our first accelerator program back in 2019. It was successful, so we doubled down on it, and we've been launching accelerator programs with different ecosystems and partners ever since. So we have programs running with Polkadot, Polygon, Filecoin, Hedera, and DeFi Base Camp with New Order is the first topic-specific accelerator that we're running. And in terms of track record, so just a few points there. We were the first European-focused blockchain-only VC firm. And since we've launched, we've worked with over 140 teams across 7 programs, and we've helped them raise more than $300 million at a multi-billion-dollar valuation at the time of the raise. So yeah, that's a bit about us and about Outlier Ventures.
That's great. I did a little bit of research myself too. Looks like OV has a huge portfolio of like over 150 startups. I wonder which one has been your favorite project, if I can ask.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm obviously a bit more biased to some of the projects I worked with personally. So I would mention two projects. One was from my time working on the Polkadot Base Camp. We worked with a team called Uplink, and Uplink were building a decentralized telco network. So if you're familiar with Helium, it's something similar to Helium, but rather than having to purchase nodes to run and maintain the network, it can be any device that has a wireless connection, whether it's your laptop, phone, iPad, router. So it's really interesting what they're doing, and yeah, it's been a while since I've connected with them, but I've been hearing great things. And more recently on DeFi Base Camp, of course, we had a number of great teams on the program. The two that I would mention as my favorite ones would be Obey and Identify. Obey is building a music futures exchange, and they're one of my favorite projects just because of how innovative they are, both on the product side of coming up with such an idea and executing on it, but also on the design and the aesthetics side, which they were great at as well. And the second one is Identify. Identify is a project that's working on bringing institutional capital to DeFi. And it's one of my favorite projects as well, just because I'm a strong believer in bridging TradFi and DeFi. So that's why I like them as well.
That's great. Yeah, I think Identify is one of my favorite projects as well. They're trying to, bring the institution and capitals to DeFi space and make, break down the walled garden basically to make sure the capital can flow through different DeFi protocols freely, also in a compliance way. So I really like them. So that's great. So you've been working with a lot of early stage founders. Of course, different teams, they face different challenges, but do you see any like commonalities in terms of the challenges they're facing?
Um, I mean, yeah, I think a few things come to mind. So, I mean, obviously, you get diverse teams joining our accelerator programs. So, the teams joining are typically strong in some areas, but weaker in other areas. But some of the common themes we see are, for example, teams, Web2 teams that are transitioning or moving into Web3. And a challenge they have is like getting familiar with Web3 and DeFi, building up their network, becoming more Web3 and DeFi native, both in the way they build products, but also in the way they appeal to users, investors, their community, and so on. Another common theme that we see is we get a lot of founders that are technically very strong. So they're either great developers or very financially savvy founders. But what we sometimes see is that those founders are a bit weaker on the business side of things. So, like on fine-tuning their business model, defining a suitable direction for the project, defining a go-to-market strategy. And perhaps last but not least, I think what teams also struggle with sometimes is navigating the legal and regulatory aspects of Web3 and DeFi. So, not being sure where to register their entities, how to navigate regulations around securities, and so on. So, those are some of the themes we see. And on our programs and along with the support of the New Order team, what we do is we try to support them on all of them. So on the legal structuring side, for example, we have an in-house legal team that can provide initial direction and guidance on how to address the issues. We're not a law firm, so we're not allowed to give legal advice, but we can tell teams where to start. And yeah, same as on the other topics. So between the two of us, between OV and New Order, we have a very big network of exchanges, smart contract auditors, LPs, investors, DeFi protocols, founders that we can connect teams with just to help them get more familiar with and navigate the Web3 and DeFi space. And yeah, overall, I mean, we have some in-house teams that can help the project teams with everything they need, and a strong partner and mentor network that we can get them connected with.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of points you mentioned, and I also think like hiring is another big one. I think people are really the backbone for like any companies, but especially when you're trying to assembling a core team. I think how to create this people funnel, how to manage the turnover, how to make sure you create this collaborative culture, make sure like everyone on the team is aligned on the vision of the company. I think hiring is the art. One of my main jobs at New Order is to like talk to aspiring entrepreneurial people. So I think once the companies is in our DeFi Base Camp accelerator program, our, as you said, OV and New Order's resources are at your disposal. Maybe you'll find someone through our people funnel and join your team. That's great. So I think you touched on this a little bit too, but I want to just double click on this point. What are some? I know there are a lot of like incubators and accelerators out there. What do you think differentiates DeFi Base Camp?
Good question. So I think three main things I would say. The first is the 360-degree support that we offer. So I know there are quite a few accelerator programs out there, but I'm not aware of any in the Web3 and DeFi space that offer the level of support that we offer, which is like 360-degree support for the teams. So as I mentioned, we have a number of in-house teams across different areas that are critical for a project success, like fundraising, tech, token economics, legal and structuring, marketing and community. And we have dedicated teams with multiple team members, and each team working very closely with the projects to make sure they can get everything they need and that all their issues are addressed in those areas. So I would say the OV accelerator programs and DeFi Base Camp specifically, which we're running jointly with New Order, is the most hands-on accelerator I'm aware of. So that's one point. Another point is our track record in the space. So as I mentioned a bit earlier in the interview, we were the first European blockchain-focused VC firm. We've worked with over 140 teams. We've helped teams raise over $300 million. So again, I'm not aware of any other accelerators that have a similar track record. And finally, one thing that I would also say sets OV and DeFi Base Camp apart is the thought leadership on both sides. So on the OV side, what we bring to the table is more the open metaverse and MetaFi side of the thought leadership. So Jamie, our CEO, has been talking about this since 2016 with our convergence thesis and the open metaverse OS thesis, and most recently the MetaFi thesis. And I think on the New Order side, I mean, you've incubated and like you have a strong research team that comes up with ideas, and you've incubated some great projects as well, like Redacted, Optify, H2O, and they're really some of the more innovative projects. So not just forks of what exists in DeFi.
Yeah, absolutely. And for DeFi Base Camp, we'll also bring those founders, in front of all the participants and the ventures, and maybe lend some of their experience in terms of how to found and how to launch a project in a short amount of time.
Yeah,
That's great. So is there any like continued support after graduation?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when a team joins DeFi Base Camp and the OV and New Order community, you're automatically part of the network and part of the family. And actually, what we tell all teams is that when the program ends, it's really the start of the journey. The program is really meant to kickstart their growth. And we as a team are always here in case they need anything, have questions, need any advice. So our success at OV and New Order is linked to their success because we're investors and stakeholders in their projects. So it's definitely beneficial to everyone to make sure that we offer the best support. And more formally, what we offer post-program is 2 months of working closely with the teams and offering them fundraising support, helping out with investor intros, and so on.
That's great. So I'm asking this from a founder's perspective if I'm interested in applying, and what are some key criteria you'll look at?
So from our perspective, one of the most important things is the team. Because it's so early stage, the product may change, the market conditions may also change. But that's why it's really important to make sure there's a team in place with the relevant experience and ability to execute on the idea and vision. So yeah, to me, the most important factor is the team, their experience, their talent, their ability to execute. And if you look at the teams that went through DeFi Base Camp, we have some amazing founders behind those projects and teams. And what you usually see is because we're in DeFi and in finance, one of the founders usually has a strong financial background, with another founder maybe more on the Web3 or on the tech side. So yeah, I mean, team is number one. Of course, market is the second factor that we look at. So how we see that market growing in the future. Is it a market that can sustain the returns we're looking for? And finally, is the product and the idea. So is that product a good fit for the market that the team is targeting?
Yeah, absolutely. I think team is definitely one of the biggest factors when I look at applications. And I also like to talk to the founders before making decisions because I want to see what's their commitment to this startup, what's their vision, and how coachable they are. Are they able to internalize some of feedback from investors, from LPs, and to make their product better? The flexibility is also important, I think, for me.
Definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, I know it's a bit cliche, but you're investing in people and people who can build companies as opposed to the companies themselves.
Absolutely. So, last question. Can you tell us a bit more about the high level structure of the program, just in a few sentences, and how to apply?
Yeah, of course. So the program is structured into 3 phases or modules. So the first one is Mentor Madness, and this takes place over the first 2 weeks. And the objective of Mentor Madness is to get teams as much feedback as possible to help them, number one, iterate on their product vision and value proposition. And number two is to set their goals and OKRs for the program and beyond. And the way we do it is we get them to pitch to a lot of mentors. So like they pitch to the New Order team, they pitch to the OV team, and they pitch to the DeFi Base Camp mentor network. And we collect all that feedback, synthesize it into a document, discuss the feedback with them, and help them set their goals and OKRs. So that's the first phase for the first 2 to 3 weeks. Once that's over, we focus on 2 other things from weeks 3 to around week 5, 6. And that's the second phase. So what we focus on there is knowledge building and tailored support. So As I mentioned, we have a number of in-house teams, and each member of those teams gives a workshop on their specific domain. So we have the legal team giving workshops on legal structuring in Web3 and DeFi, the token team giving workshops on token design, governance, things to keep in mind when designing a token, and so on. So this is a knowledge building part. And the tailored support part is, of course, every team is different, and it's difficult to have a fully structured program that you try to fit every team in. So we try to tailor the support as much as possible. And the way that works is based on the goals and OKRs that the teams set, and based on the issues they come across as they go through the program, as they build their projects. We connect them with our in-house specialists who can help them with whatever they need, whether it's tech, fundraising, building a community, opening up a bank account, registering an entity, and so on. And the last phase is more towards the last 4 weeks of the program, and that's where we focus more on fundraising and helping teams bootstrap liquidity. So we help teams flesh out their pitch deck, think through their fundraising strategy, help them by putting them into our investor day and the demo day, which we have at the end of the program, and also making intros to VCs in our network. So that's in a nutshell the 3 phases and the way.
Very comprehensive, yes. And how to apply?
Oh yeah, and how to apply is, it's very easy. You just need to go to outlierventures.io/basecamp/DeFi Basecamp, or what's easier is ov.click/DeFi, which is a lot shorter. And it walks you through the application process. So you can either book time with the DeFi Base Camp team if you'd like to discuss anything before you submit an application. And then there's a link to apply, and the application is fairly straightforward.
Nice, thank you so much. So that's all the questions from me. You will find, the links to apply in the description, just to make it easier for you. It will also list the thesis and the focus areas we're looking at. So if you're interested, please leave your, questions, comments in the comment section. We look forward to hearing from you. And thank you, Abdallah, for coming, for answering all the questions. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Likewise.
And next time.
Thanks a lot for having me, Amber.